Welcome back to the European Invitational brought to you by Monkey Bubble. It's Labasco and Kenobi with you for our next game here that we have down in the lower bracket. It's Nyyrikki versus Indignation. Kenobi, we've got a good matchup here for us. We get to do the European Invitational. You and I haven't casted together in I don't even know how
Very
long.
long,
Too
very
long.
long time. Too long. It's been too long. It's been probably a year, I think, since we've cast together. So I'm definitely excited to be back, excited to be casting this new meta. Last time I casted it was still 2-2-2, but it was a different variation of what we have now. So I'm very excited to see what these EU teams are going to be bringing us. It's going to be some good Overwatch. So definitely stay tuned,
So I think for me, it was still Ghost the last time I casted. So
everyone.
it's going to be fun to see. These are two teams right now battling it out in the lower bracket, obviously trying to get towards, we're getting close to the end of the day for the European Invitational, but just looking at the bracket so far, Kenobi, I mean, these are two teams that have a chance to maybe make some waves. They both lost, obviously, to get into the losers bracket, but that doesn't mean you're done.
Yeah, and now I mean we're in the losers bracket now, and this is kind of where those start to, those wins and losses start to matter a little bit more. Everything is a little bit more tense because this is the point where it's you lose and you are out of the bracket entirely. So before you had a little bit of leeway with going into losers bracket, but now you're really getting to the nitty gritty, right? You need to be start winning these games, and if you lose, and you go home, and that's unfortunate.
And it's, of course, we're still getting an understanding of the meta. Like, we know what the meta is. If you've watched the tournament up until this point, if you're somebody who watches the Overwatch League, it's looked pretty similar up until this. There's been maybe a little bit more fair than what we see in the Overwatch League is maybe one of the bigger differences. But as far as the meta itself, Kenobi, what are the things we need to be looking here from both Indignation and Nyyrikki?
I think for both of these teams, I'm going to be interested to see how I was reviewing actually some VODs of Overwatch League, and I'm interested to see how the Doomfist players, if we're going to be seeing Doomfist, which I believe we will, since it's been so heavily part of the meta, a lot of Doomfist and Reaper. I'm interested to see how the Doomfists are going to be playing. There's a lot of differentiations when it comes to styles, and more, you have those more greedy Doomfists who may try and make those big hero plays, and you have those Doomfists that are a little bit more calculated, measured twice, cut once type of Doomfist where they'll try and combo with the halts, and that's another thing as well, comboing with your cooldowns. How are halts going to be used? I think it's one of the most important abilities in the game right now. So those are some of the things that I think, if you're a new viewer who hasn't seen this meta just yet, those are the things to look out for.
Those are things we'll definitely be trying to watch for then as we watch both Nyyrikki and Indignation. Now, 222 obviously still feels a little bit fresh at times as well. There's not too many things that we've seen change too much, but of course one of the biggest changes as of recent time, obviously with Overwatch League, is something we've seen, and we're going to see plenty of it here today, is Sigma. So Sigma is another part that seems to be so important in this current meta. What is it that makes a good Sigma?
I think the thing that makes a good Sigma usually is a lot of it has to do with, I think, shield placement, because shield is very important in terms of like setting a line in the sand where your attacking line is, right? You can also use it. I've seen, I was watching yesterday. I've seen some people also, the Sigmas, use it to help their Doomfist out, right? Because you can just throw it forward and you can negate some of the damage that would be coming into the Doomfist. So that shield is definitely something that I think people should look out for as well. Also, Gravitic Flux, I think, is one of the best ultimates in the game right now. It does 50% of your maximum health. It's such a good ultimate with that CC as well. And usually, if they're good, there's a team fight winning ultimate. But also sometimes I've seen a lot of flubs from Sigmas hit no man gravitic fluxes, and it's such an important alt, kind of like EMP was with Sombra Goats, where if you miss it, it's kind of one of your win condition ultimates. It needs to be hitting most of the time.
It's also one of those things where sound barrier, the Lucio, is so important in
Yep.
that respects, because if you have the sound barrier and you time it right, you can actually cancel the alt out.
Mhm.
It's one of the few ultimates where Lucio, well, it's the only ultimate, the only thing where Lucio can be in the air and use his ultimate. Don't
Yep.
ask me how that works. I don't, I guess maybe it has something to do with gravity. Regardless, though, we know that we're going to Busan first. So more than likely, we could maybe see Farah here. This is one of the maps that is a possibility.
Yeah, we could also see some the Bastion composition. We've seen also an owl sometimes on, especially on this map on Sanctuary. We do see a little bit of that. We saw NYXL run it, I believe. We saw the Shock run it, where you have the Symmetra Bastion, where you kind of just move the Bastion all around the point and then try and mess up the enemy team's coordination, and then just drill through their shields with that Bastion damage that you have from the Sentry mode.
And Sanctum is the first map, or Sanctuary, excuse me, is the first map that we are going to go to. When you look at the two teams here, you're going to have on the left in the blue, Nyyrikki. Indignation is going to be your team in the red, as we are about to get to where we're going to get to see what these teams are doing. And to no surprise, Kenobi, they're not even hiding it. They're like, you know what, we're just going to show we're going meta here.
Yeah, I mean, meta is definitely what, that's basically what people are going to be running most of the time here. We talked about it a little bit. Not too much variations besides maybe, like you mentioned, the Pharah. It seems, though, that the other side for Indignation, they're going to be going for, or rather for Nyyrikki, they're going to be going for the Symmetra
Oh,
to start off with. So they're going to be, using that teleporter to get a little bit of extra time to get to the point a little bit faster. What that does is it doesn't let you use amp. So you can keep amp when you go onto the point and you can use it for something else rather than just speeding towards the point.
and there's the switch over to the Reaper. So now we are completely the same. Like you said, you get there a little bit faster. You can just see positioning wise that Nyyrikki is a little bit further forward because of it. As we're watching both of these teams sort of just feel it out, at least at the beginning. The Doomfist looking for those opportunities. The Accretion comes out, getting so close was Ed into getting down, but does get healed back up by the Moira. Now we switch over to Tap, looking for that opportunity to uppercut his way in and through. Nothing with the Rocket Punch. Nobody has fallen for either of these teams as of yet, as somebody's still trying to get low, but they're healing up the Reaper, keeping it in this fight. And now the Coalescents start to get popped. Nothing coming through yet, though. The healing has been on point for both of these teams, as we're still looking for our first elimination into the game. Tap coming through with the Rocket Punch and not finding anything as of yet. Sound Barrier coming through as well for Nyyrikki. And now the Supercharger,
Ooh.
now the Death Blossom finally breaks through for Indignation. Eden getting two with that.
And that's what you're going to be seeing a lot of these times in these first fights, Labosco. You're going to be seeing a lot of these long, drawn-out fights. They're going to be fighting towards who can get that coalescence first. And there, the most important thing for the side of Indignation is they were able to flip the point very early, so they're getting a lot of free percentage because they have a 25% now. If they hadn't have flipped, they would have been at maybe something like 10, so that percentage that they got at the start could definitely make a difference in the end.
There is some ultimates coming up, though, for Nyyrikki, so they do have a good opportunity here, especially with the Flux coming up, but you do have the Meteor Strike and the Sound Barrier to combat some of those ultimates that will come through for Indignation. So coming through now, Nyyrikki pushing along that right side, looking for the opportunity. Coalescence gets used here. Rocket Punch from Tap in, but on the other side, Cloud is able to get one down in the Orisa. That could spell disaster here, but they do end up losing their Reapers. Tap coming in, not finding anything. Dramatic Flux out, pulling players in for Indignation, and it looks like they're going to be able to hold on, even though they lost their Orisa at the beginning.
Yeah, and there you just see how important of an ultimate gravitic flux is. It gets 3 people up in the air, and then it slams them down. There's no sound barrier to counter it out. So here, it looks like Indignation just has such a good read on how to use their ultimates in this meta, and now we're in last fight territory for the side of Nyyrikki. They need to win this fight, but unfortunately, they don't have a lot of ultimates. They're only going to have the sound barrier and maybe the meteor strike going into this fight.
They are closer than Indignation, though, is the good thing for them, Kenobi, as far as ultimates are concerned. So you have to pretty much win this dry if you are Indignation, if you want to win the point here outright. But with it being 99-0, basically, they might be okay. Cloud coming through with the Rocket Punch, not going to find anything there. It's one of the things here about Sanctuary, not much. Ooh, a good Rocket Punch coming through, leading into the Meteor Strike, dropping down. He helps get out the Reaper, and then Rocket Punches right into the Moira. And now it's looking like Nyyrikki is going to get their opportunity to take the point.
And Nyyrikki finally is going to be able to win the point, like you said, and it comes off the back of Barats there and his sound barrier. I talked about it before the fight started. That was really all they had, and they were able to use it to sustain through a lot of the damage that was coming out from Indignation. But unfortunately for Nyyrikki, Indignation is going to come back with a lot of ultimates and a lot of important ones as well. Honestly, they could still just take this fight, lose this fight, and come back with 6 packs of ultimates that they almost have right now. So for the side of Nyyrikki, this is going to be a very, very hard defense for them.
Yeah, they had to invest everything to just get this point for the first time. Eden, you can see having that Blossom ready to go. Looking for the opportunity here is Shade to throw down the Supercharger along with the shield. Gets close, but is kept alive thanks to the Coalescence coming out from the Moira. They're pushing in right now. Going behind, using the Death Blossom is Eden. It gets eaten up mostly, though, by the Sigma, but players are falling for Nyyrikki, so it doesn't even matter that they eat up most of that. Ultimate Tap throwing the Meteor Strike in as well, and this is looking really great for the side of the red team. And Indignation just have to get that Doomfist down. They flip the point, Can anybody get back? Doesn't look like it.
They probably won't be able to here. They're going to try, and they just barely aren't able to make it, unfortunately, as it looks like Indignation going to be taking this first map, and both of these teams, I think, still just feeling each other out just a little bit here, because they didn't see a lot of combinations, really, with some of the Doomfists and the Halts. It kind of just felt like willy-nilly, like we're going to out-mechanic you, and at the end there, you just saw how important something like Supercharger is, where Alex is just doing so much damage with those Hyperspheres because he's getting boosted by that bongo, and he's able to clean up the fight with the rest of the side of Indignation. So Indignation looking pretty good going into the second point, as we're going to be seeing here. Looks like Nyyrikki going to be bringing out this Pharah. We talked about it a little bit beforehand.
Yeah, the Pharah is something that can be very useful. Downtown is very open, so this is a map where it makes a little bit more sense. You also think about it too, Kenobi. I mean, you're still going to have the Doomfist. This is still not too bad of a decision to do with it as well, because this is maybe a little bit better of a map for Doom.
Yeah, and also you kind of just need the Doom for the counter Doom. That's really what you're taking it for. You know, you want to have that ability to one-shot as well. You want to have the ability to counter punch, counter engage as well. So I think that's usually why the Doomfist and Doomfist is such an important battle.
So they're seeing Indignation. They're going to take their position on the point here because of that Pharah. Try and use that kind of under area right near the point to try and hide from some of those rockets. But that also means you're in a good area to get shot by them, but they do take the point first. Tap gets Kriya as well. So you're already down one of your important players for Nyyrikki. They're starting to turn it now. Bacon Thief and Cloud getting two. Out comes the barrage as well, with the help of that shield in front to make sure nobody could kill the Pharah. And Cloud will just clean up now on the ground, and Nyyrikki will take this point right back. Get to about 21, up 20% actually for Indignation though at the start.
Yeah, you mentioned that shield from Alexor, and I think that was actually super cool what he did there. He was blocking off a lot of the damage through that barrage that was coming in from Cloud, because Eden was right there. Eden was about to two-tap that Pharah in the air, but he couldn't because the shielding was there. So that was a really nice niche play coming out from Alexor, and they're rewarded here, Nyyrikki, with the point, and with a little bit of percentage, they're going to be able to tie here. And coming into this fight, they have the Coalescence advantage, one of the most important ultimates right now in the meta.
And Snappy just looking for that opportunity, just throwing out some Gravitic Flux as of right, or sorry, going to just be throwing out the Coalescence now, actually, and looking for as much damage and healing as possible. Not too much off of the Coalescence, but still have that Fusion Driver that can do a lot of damage for the Orisa in the fight as Shade, though, falls down. Ooh. And now you have the Barrage. Oh, the Meteor Strike coming through with two. Not even going to need the Rocket Barrage for this one. Can use it in the next fight.
And there's one of the things I talked about a little bit earlier, Labasco, is the Halt Meteor Strike combination. Are you going to be comboing those Halts? And there, Bacon Thief and Kree do a really good job of comboing the Halt with the Meteor Strike. They're able to get a double kill, and they're able to win the fight just off of that. So really nice play and nice coordination coming out from Nyyrikki. Barrage available in this next fight. No defensive ultimate to speak of for the side of Indignation, though.
Oh, and the Orisa just got shot so many times directly by those rockets, and now the Barrage coming out too, and Cloud gets a 3-4 piece with it. So this Pharah is just phenomenal work from Nyyrikki as far as their side is concerned. They're up to 82%.
It's another great halt from Bacon Thief. He halts two people into the barrage, no shielding available, and they all go down. So this is some really great coordinated coming out from the side of Nyyrikki here, and looks like this is last fight territory for the side of Indignation. They have some ultimates to work with, though.
Have to be careful, though. Eden is super low, has that Death Blossom. If he goes down, it's a massive loss at the beginning. He's getting healed up, though. Couple players getting close. Supercharger thrown down by Shade. It doesn't really do a whole lot, and they lost Eden as well. They don't even get the Death Blossom off. Chromatic Flux didn't look to get too much. They did get the flip, though, in this fight, but they're losing players. They still have Alex on the point on the Sigma, but it doesn't matter. He's the only one there. You're trying to get your Reaper back, but it's too little too late. Even if he gets it off, it's probably just going to get eaten up by the Sigma. Getting blocked. Now we'll use his Race Form to get out of the point, but he dies as soon as he uses it. Oh, but Cloud, the support for Indignation coming through and gets an elimination. There's a chance still here for Indignation to maybe get this flick. Have to be careful here if you're Nyyrikki. You don't want to let this go for too long. switch is coming through for the side of Indignation. They have the Reinhardt out as well. Cloud coming back though with the barrage. We just got a quick view of that. The accretion thrown in helps take down Alex. And now back with the barrage is the Pharah and Cloud. And now they just have these few players left as supports. They're using both of their support ultimates though as Indignation to keep themselves in this fight. It's not working out though. Finally, everybody goes by. Overtime's over. Nyyrikki evens this up at 1-1.
Yeah, not as clean as the end there, I think, as Nyyrikki would have liked. They would have liked to have that map end probably 30 seconds before it actually did end, but they did end up getting the win there. And I think a lot of it came off the back of just the Pharah play from Cloud, and also the play from the Orisa from Bacon Thief. You know, Bacon Thief with these halts, I talked about it earlier. Halt is probably one of the most important cooldowns in the game right now, if not the most. And if you're able to combo with those ultimates like a barrage, like a meteor strike, it's pretty much guaranteed a couple of kills, and you can win the fight off of that. So Bacon Thief really showing his stuff on Orisa, a character that we don't usually think of Labasco as having a lot of, you know, carry potential, pop-off moments, but you can still have your place in the meta and do some really cool things.
The only thing is, though, Kenobi, we go now to another map, Mecha Base, where you're not going to be running that Pharah. You see that Kree's going back over to the Reaper, so you have to be able to win in this matchup with the Reaper and the Doomfist is the important thing. So Nyyrikki coming through versus that Rocket Punch from Cloud, not going to get anybody, but got someone low. You're seeing, too, that Alexor is going to position himself with the rest of his team on the point. So Nyyrikki in control of the point first, but Kree is down already in the fight is the problem. You lose so much damage without that Reaper, you still can win the fight, but losing out on that Death Blossom percentage can really be detrimental to your team. So Nyyrikki still fighting through with this. Accretion will hit the Moira, and Coalescence coming through to help just finish off these eliminations. And Indignation looking really good. Oh, and the Coalescence used after two players are lost for Nyyrikki. This is disastrous for the start for the team in blue.
Yeah, that Coalescence is definitely one that they're going to want to have back, because if you would have had it, you would have been able to recontest and most likely win a fight off of that Coalescence. It's just so strong, but they use it and unfortunately gets absolutely no value. So kind of a disaster, like you mentioned, from Nyyrikki coming into this next fight.
Still potential for them to win the fight, of course, but the ultimate economy is looking very good for the side of Indignation. Tap looking around, trying to find out where this team is coming from. They see them now coming on the low ground, and now Tap looking for his Rocket Punch in. Doesn't get the elimination, but does get Kreia really low. Now we'll throw the Meteor Strike in. The halt in there is perfect to get Bacon Thief, who's down and out of the fight. The counter Meteor Strike does help get two eliminations. Didn't actually kill anybody off of it, but off of that, but Tina coming through with 3 for the Death Blossom. Alex still alive, just trying to get this Lucio down. So through all of that, they almost won the fight for Nyyrikki, but they use ultimates, don't win, and keeping the point through it all is Indignation.
Yeah, this is really bad here for the side of Nyyrikki. They are at 50% right now on the losing streak, and this is about 1 or 2 more fights for the side of Indignation that if they win, they're going to be able to take this map. So this is a very scary spot for them. They get the pull, almost get the kill on the Cloud, but barely just don't.
Eden has been really good on that Reaper. That Death Blossom getting 3 is super important. Gravitic Flux, though, coming through. Sound Barrier is used in response, though, keeping everybody up for Indignation. Coalescence used by Snappy now, trying to help get this team in Nyyrikki the win here on this control point, but so far not so good. Indignation looking like the team that's going to be able to take this fight again. They give up the points is the only thing, but still losing players is Nyyrikki is the most important part. Alexor just trying to stay alive, uses his shift to try and get as much shielding on him as possible, but players just keep falling around him. Almost moved off there as well, but Indignation back in control of the point. They have more players there, and Alexor just can only do so much by throwing out those hyper spheres, and this is perfect for Indignation to take this point and take this map.
Yeah, so luckily for the side of Nyyrikki, they were able to flip that point, because if they didn't, they absolutely would have lost this map. But still, it's going to be very difficult. They have to have someone come and touch, and this is last fight territory for them. The unfortunate thing is they're not going to have a lot of ultimates. Perhaps Barats can get his Sound Barrier before they get to point, but Kree is going to have to touch this point right now.
So Eden's looking for the opportunity to use that Death Blossom. See some players going out in front, staying with this team though for right now. The flip is almost through again, but using the Coalescent with Sukrax, so this is still looking perfect For the side of Indignation, they haven't even used some of their ultimates, and they're winning this fight. They do give up the flip is the only thing. They're not worried about that because Alex is going to use his Gravitic Flux, kill one, and his team helps him clean up the rest.
And that's going to be that. It is going to be Indignation taking our first map. Just a matter of cleaning up the point with some punches from Tap. And that's going to be that. Indignation takes map 1.
A very good map from them, Kenobi, as well. We did see Nyyrikki look really good when they got the Pharah in, but we know where this is really going to come into, though, is what can you do in the mirror matchup with the Doomfist and the Reaper. So see Tap here too with the play of the game as well for the side of Indignation. Throw people off the map. It works.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It is a method of killing someone, but I think the thing there for the side of Nyyrikki, you mentioned it. They looked a lot better on the Pharah, and I think that comes down to they didn't look as comfortable on the Reaper, did they? Because the Reaper for Nyyrikki was kind of just Kree was just kind of going into the backline a little bit of times by himself. And one of the things that Indignation was doing really well is they were holding accretion for him. Accretion, I didn't talk about it earlier when I mentioned Sigma, but that's also another very important part of Sigma's kit right now because it's probably the best method right now to stop divers. Divers like, Reaper getting into your backline or the Doomfist, right? It's the best way to deal with them, and then you can finish them off while they're on the ground stunned. So they're going to have to probably adjust a little bit, Nyyrikki, to how side of Indignation is playing, holding that accretion for when the Reaper's going into the backline or when the Doomfist is going into the backline.
So what is the answer to a team that's being a little bit more patient and using that accretion a little bit more defensively for a team like Nyyrikki? Like how do you what is the adjustment that needs to be made from them, would you say?
You have to try and force it out. Usually, I think you should probably try and force it out mostly with Reaper because Reaper is the one who has Fade. And if Reaper has Fade, if he gets stunned, he's usually, if it's a micro stun, like the accretion scales with distance. So if it's just like right in front of Sigma, it's not going to be that big of a stun. So you can just Wraith out. And then once the Wraith is gone, then you can send the Doomfist in because the Doomfist isn't going to have anything to deal with, right? He has all his cooldowns available to him. And then he'll be able to maybe get some kills in the backline and not have to worry about getting stunned with accretion.
Yeah, it seems like they don't have like too bad of a team to maybe try and deal with what they're seeing for Nyyrikki. We are going to get teams to switch sides here for our next map. Just a quick note for everybody, by the way. So
also for us, also we also need to know that.
Yeah, we like to know that too. It helps us out. But so we're going to Numbani, and as far as a map where Pharah can be used, I mean,
this is definitely
Pharah.
one.
Yeah.
I think this is a very good Pharah map on defense. Usually is mostly where we see it. We sometimes see it on offense, but with how good Nyyrikki looked with that Pharah, I wouldn't be shocked if they were going to play it on offense and on defense because they just looked like such a better team when they had the Pharah. And for the side of Indignation didn't really know how to deal with it, right? There's no like hit scan option. Sometimes, that's one of the biggest questions right now is how do you deal with the Pharah against these compositions? Do you just try and win the war of attrition? Do you maybe bring out a Bastion? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think definitely for the side of Nyyrikki, I definitely would expect them to probably bring out this Pharah on the offense.
Well, you were talking about Bastion, and it looks like that's what Indignation is going to do. You already see Eden showing the Bastion, and I mean, there's only 30 seconds left. I don't think they're switching. They're also using the Mei as well. So the Mei in combination with the Bastion is something that we see can be very strong.
Yeah, and I'm going to be interested to see how Nyyrikki is going to deal with this when they come out of spawn. Are they going to bring a Mei themselves? Because right here, Doomfist probably not going to get the most value in this composition, especially if they're putting up on the high ground right here. You're going to have to get very lucky with the punch, and you're going to have to get very lucky with your cooldowns to make sure you don't die and don't just die to Mei or something like that. So I'm interested to see how Nyyrikki is going to be able to deal with this composition, as they are going to be bringing out the Pharah, so they have a lot of span damage against those shields.
Well, once the scouting comes out, this will be when we know what they're going to decide to do. They see that it is the Bastion that's camped up on that high ground. You're seeing Cloud use that corner to just spam the rockets in whatever he can get through. I mean, sure, the Bastion, you do get a tighter, as you shoot, your spread gets tighter, but from that distance, it's still hard to really output any damage into the Pharah. And of course, we know the rockets are going to do way more damage getting in, but there's still a lot of shielding that you have to try and break through. The Hulk pulls Cloud back into view, but again, he's still avoiding most of the damage, but he's not doing much himself. You saw Bacon Thief try to jump in with the Winston, didn't work out. He didn't get onto the high ground. He got pushed right back off, and there goes Cloud. This is not looking too good so far for the side of Nyyrikki. They do get the res back onto Cloud. They're trying to take this Bastion out, though, is the only problem. Nyyrikki has gotten about 2 ticks. They're not quite to the second one. They did get the first one, but the Bastion comp works.
Yeah, that's actually kind of disastrous for the side of Nyyrikki that they aren't able to get that second tick, because winning a fight off of 1 tick is much easier, obviously, than winning a fight off of 2 ticks. And unfortunately there for Cloud, you can't be dying like that. Like, you can't just be dying like that in the air, because then you have to use the Mercy, has to res you, and isn't able to help the rest of the team. And once the Pharah is down, the rest of Indignation is going to be like, all right, we can just go in. There's no Pharah anymore. The Bastion can just sit on the point without any worry of getting hit by any rockets.
An Amplification Matrix is up, and it's thrown out here immediately as soon as the fight starts. So the Bastion, so much more power coming through, and now tank mode that you can try and shoot through that Amp Matrix. Oh, there's a shield in front, though, so Eden's doing a lot of damage to himself. Primal Rage throwing players around. They have to get to the point right now, too, because they're about to cap it, and they do! This is disastrous for the side of Indignation. They had players left alive and could maybe do something about stopping the point or stalling it, but it doesn't work. Cloud doing plenty of damage, has already another barrage.
And I think Eden there gets a little bit too over-eager with his tank ultimate there, unfortunately, because there, you know, you don't need to be in tank form right there. You can just be in your Sentry form. You're shooting, you're being damage boosted, you're shooting through a window, and you're getting so much damage and putting so much pressure on. But once you go into tank form, you have that animation, and you aren't just putting on constant pressure onto the enemy team. So there, I would have liked to have just seen him stay in that turret mode and just continue to rain down those bullets, because you were doing enough damage. You didn't need the tank ult.
And then you have that shield that was in front just enough that it causes you to do damage to yourself, basically. This is looking like an even fight so far between these two teams, but of course you have to reposition right now. If you are the side of Indignation, that card has rolled so far. It's on the final stretch here up this first point. You have the Baptiste ult used again, but the window, everybody's able to avoid it as for the most part on the side of Nyyrikki. They're kind of just regrouping as of right now.
Yeah, they're just gonna kite out the window. They're not gonna get that much value. There's the Coalescence and the dive coming in, but there's a Blizzard to counter it.
The Blizzard on the ground, can't really see who's been caught into it. Cloud right now from behind, looking for the opportunity. Oh, that's a great shield in front. Stops Cloud's barrage. Nothing comes through for it, and now the Bastion has no worry about this bear in the sky and can pre-fire in front, and you see how aggressive they get for Indignation as soon as they do that.
Alex with the absolute hard reads there onto that barrage, or yeah, Alex it is, but there's Alex and Alexor. Wow, that's kind of interesting, but
And
Alex
they're
there,
both tanks, so it doesn't help.
yeah, they're both Sigma players too, but Alex there with the hard read onto the Pharah barrage, understands that it's coming from the high ground and just puts that shield right there. Barrage gets absolutely no value besides getting Cloud down himself, so really nice heads-up play there from Alex on that Sigma.
Oh, a nice headshot too by Tap on the May, almost getting down Cloud in the sky. Of course, when you have the pocket, though, unless you get another headshot, not going to happen. But this is still, you know, for Indignation, they weren't looking too great a little bit earlier just because of how things kind of broke down. But now they've been able to sort of bring this back. They're shooting through the Amplification Matrix. Players staying out of range of it, though, on the side of Nyyrikki. Now, this is when we have to see how they counter. And that's great. The flank from Cloud forces out the res. And now you're seeing the rest of Nyyrikki jump at this opportunity. Rabbinic Flux was able to get one. And now they get the point two. Players left alive and a point captured again while you're on defense for Indignation is not good to see.
They just completely caught Indignation out by surprise there. The Pharah continued to just 3-tap that Bastion. No shielding there, no healing as well. Then the res has to come out and really heads up aggressive play there from the side of Nyyrikki, understanding that the Bastion is down. We can go in, use all of our ultimates, and win this fight. Unfortunately there, a little bit of a misplay coming out from Indignation.
Taking advantage of it, of course, though, is Nyyrikki. That's the most important part. Tank mode going to get used here. Cloud going on a flank again while that tank mode is active, looking for the opportunity to throw that barrage out. Accretion Rock missing is a good cooldown to get out if you're Cloud, and now you can maybe try coming back in and pop your ultimate. Still not waiting for that opportunity.
Eden's down.
That's perfect. And now you don't even need to use the barrage necessarily until the respawners start to come out. Just have to take care of the Sigma on the cart, which they do with no problem. Oh, direct rocket to do so. And now you can camp the doors and then barrage as soon as they come out. And that's exactly what happens here from Cloud. 2 kills with it with the help of Alexor. 2:14 on the clock for their push for Nyyrikki.
And there, I mean, Nyyrikki played that probably as well as they could have against that composition. And Indignation, unfortunately, a few I'm gonna say like tiny errors really cost them throughout that map. You know, on that second point on point B, when the Bastion's just sitting there and gets 3-tapped by a Pharah, especially when you have someone like Sigma who can just deploy shields at will, just willy nilly. There probably should have been a shield available for him there, or some healing of some sort. Because really, realistically, with this composition, a Bastion shouldn't just get 3-tapped by a Pharah.
And just didn't see. It seemed like maybe I think it was I'm looking at the wrong team. I think Eden was just maybe a little bit too focused on what was in front of him when he was
Yeah,
starting to get shot by the Pharah. He was just so late to snap over where he couldn't just, take the Pharah out of the sky by himself, which is something you can do from that was a range that you want the
yeah.
Pharah to be in if you're Bastion. So just maybe a little bit too much tunnel vision ended up happening there too. You're seeing them; they're going to continue though with this Bastion. This is what they think is going to be the thing that works. On the other side, you're still seeing the Pharah too, which I don't think is much of a surprise.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things though about this combination, or about this composition rather, from Nyyrikki is this Winston variant. You know, usually you'd see an Orisa here with the Sigma, but here they have the Winston. It doesn't offer the same amount of shielding, but what they've been doing, what Bacon Thief has been doing, is he's been diving onto the backline and forcing out the lamp. The immortality field coming out from that Baptiste from Sucrax on the other side, and that's a cooldown that definitely you want to take. And he's not, Bacon Thief hasn't been feeding or doing anything like that. He's been getting a lot of value with these dives, so I like this little variance coming out from the side of Nyyrikki.
It's a little bit of creativity with the composition that we've seen a little bit of. This is something that we haven't even seen happen at the Overwatch League level or anything like that. So it's always fun to see things like this. That's why you got to love something like the European Invitational, because you get to see different sort of compositions and how a team can try and make them work. That is just throwing damage out right now onto the Pharah. That's a little bit of luck there on the
my god!
But still, okay. My goodness, the shots onto the head.
He's insane. This man is a monster. Someone stop him.
He's actually beating Cloud right now as far as building up to his ultimate right now. Now just kind of shooting. He doesn't know where anybody is. He's just trying to find somebody. You're seeing that cone get a little bit tighter as he does shoot. And there he goes with help of Sucrax to get down the pharmacy comp. And now they should be able to get this point with really no problem. The Bastion's going to be able to set up on the points, and they will get this cart rolling fairly quickly. I mean, it was fast for Nyyrikki when they took this, but even Nyrikki's attack wasn't this fast.
Yeah, I mean, usually you think that Baptiste at this point would have from Sucrax, he would have that amplification matrix, but they won the fight so quickly and they took so little damage that he doesn't even have it yet. So that just proves how well the side of Indignation won that point. Now they're going to be rolling on to B, and B, as we know, Labasco, in Numbani specifically, one of the most snowballable places in Overwatch. You can just usually take a minute to just roll through this point.
Tank mode is up, is the one good thing here, so they have that to try and push through. Coalescence getting used on the other side, though. Cloud gets tapped out of the air. They made that switch over to the Pharah on the other side, and Cloud, the support, goes down as well on the side of Indignation. So, God, it's so confusing sometimes with two Clouds.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And then we have two Alexes, too. That's the other thing. And they're both playing Sigma. It's just there's a lot of twins in this matchup.
Yeah, it's a good matchup, though, so far. They have stalled out this cart for the side of Nyyrikki is the important thing. You have to try and get that Bastion set back up, and you have Tap trying to just duel in the sky, too, with Cloud.
Yeah, we're going to see who's going to win that Pharah duel, and it looks like here, actually, Cloud is focusing more on the ground, where at the moment, the window comes out. That's good for the Bastion.
Throwing all that damage output, he will get Freya's result, so you're down one for the side of Nyyrikki. Oh! What shots from Cloud! He got close on purpose so to make it a little easier on himself, but he does end up getting taken down by Eden. So winning the ground battle for Indignation will allow them to start rolling this cart. It is going to take some time, and they will get another fight here for Nyyrikki on this second point.
Yeah, but it's also going to take a lot for the side of Indignation for the side of Nyyrikki rather, to win this fight, because if you look at the check marks up on the top left there for Indignation, you see there's 5 of them available, and Sucrax definitely can get his window in this next fight as well. So it's going to be very scary here for the side of Indignation. What are they going to do to try and win this fight, because they are in an ultimate hole right now?
Yeah, it's a little harder to be sneaky too if you're the Pharah. The barrage coming out from Tap will help get down Alexor, and Bacon Thief didn't actually finish anybody off with it, but it's enough to maybe get them the win. And the barrage comes out from Cloud and does nothing. They are stalling on the cart with the Coalescence is the good thing, keeping up a couple of players, and now the Bastion getting in position, and Eden just free fire through, and they've got 4 minutes and 25 seconds. I think it's the exact amount of time that we had for Nyyrikki at this point.
It might have been, but you know what, Labasco, one of the things I like a lot about what Indignation has done is Eden hasn't pressed his ultimate once this entire round, and I really like that because I think, again, Bastion just in Sentry mode does put so much more pressure. There are times where tank mode is worth it, but here, Eden is just continuously firing those bullets and getting so much value just by the pressure he's putting in, constant pressure that he has.
And it looks like now you're going to have the Gravatic Flux get used here. And the good Immortality Field will keep everybody alive. Eden in tank mode as well to help deal out all of this damage. And they are just pushing their way through with no issues right now. Is the side of Indignation.
Well, look at that. There's one of the there's one of those methods where the tank mode actually works. He gets a nice double kill, and they're just having such a hard time of figuring out how to deal with Eden here. He's being pocketed. He hasn't died a lot in this first round, and now they're in very big danger here on the side of Nyyrikki for losing this point and having a lesser time bank.
Have it, your Eden set in a perfect spot too to see the door where they're going to come out. The wall goes up.
Oh,
Eden
got him.
Getting back, and oh yes, getting him down, and now throwing the Death Blossom, and he dies. And now this is not looking so good. This is the opportunity for Nyyrikki to come back into this.
Yeah, they were finally able to win that point off of getting Eden out of there, and it was really nice play actually from Kreese, sacrificing his body to just do the damage, and then the follow-up was there as well from the rest of his team. So they finally get the Bastion down, and now a turnaround here. Nyyrikki, at this point, if Indignation loses this fight, Nyyrikki is going to have a better time bank.
Just have to continue to stall out is the important thing for Nyyrikki. It's going to be close, the timings, regardless if they do give it up here. Bacon Feast looking for that opportunity to use that Supercharger Amplification Matrix out on the other side. Alexor getting low, but the Supercharger out to help him throw out a little bit more damage is the good thing. Blizzard coming out as well. Oh, and now getting frozen by his Cloud and finally taken down. And now they'll be able to push the rest of the way through, it looks like.
Yeah, and they, it's going to be a bit of a couple seconds, the difference, but they are going to have a lesser time bank than Nyyrikki. This is just cleanup right now for the side of Indignation here. They're just waiting for these last stragglers to come out, and it looks like they're going to finally take the point.
Should be able to have no problem with that. Getting down the last few players that are left alive, freezing them up, and yeah, it looks like they're going to have a smaller time.
They're still stalling. They're still stalling.
Sound barrier. Sound barrier thrown out too to keep them on this cart. They're not getting any eliminations, though, is the only problem. And now the Cloud just coming through, trying to get those rocket punches, and he's not able to get back onto the cart in time. But they get this down quite a bit, Kenobi.
That was still a pretty phenomenal stall, actually, that they were able to take that like extra 20 to 30 seconds off the time bank, and now Indignation's going to have a lesser time bank than Nyyrikki, so Indignation's going to be attacking first here, I believe. Yes, they will. So yeah. I wonder if we're going to be seeing the Bastion again from them. You know, are we going to be seeing the Bastion composition? What are we going to be seeing from the side of Nyyrikki as well? Are they going to be running that composition that they've been running with the Winston, with the Sigma as well, or are they going to try something more standard? Maybe they'll try their own Bastion.
The one thing we know as for Indignation is that the part where they were the best with this composition, if they do the Bastion again, was the beginning and the first push, and it looks like that's what we're going to be. 37 seconds left before we start going.
Yeah, I mean, what's the old saying, Labasco? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? Just don't fix it. It's been working out for you so far. You won that first point incredibly fast, and it actually looks like they're going to be keeping the same composition. I'm not sure if Tap was on the. I'm not sure if Tap was on the May on that first attack, or if he was on the Pharah. But if he was on the May, this is a nice little change from the side of Indignation that they're going to be using the Pharah to try and deal with Cloud. So Cloud has to actually, think about, am I going to be shooting the Bastion on the ground, or am I going to have to deal with the Pharah in the air? He's going to have to make that decision.
If I'm Cloud, I think I'd do the battle on the ground, because we won that pretty well against Tap, and the door's open. Teams are coming out. We're seeing here that nothing changing on either side pretty much for the most part. Alex just throwing out his attack right now with those Hyper Spheres as they start to go up the stairs. Rockets coming from Cloud on the other side.
Jesus.
Ooh, the Mercy got so low. Gosh, Eden is so accurate with this Bastion. It's ridiculous. He's going to get set up now. And goodbye, Kriya right at the beginning. So the Doomfist not going to get much there at the start. And this is looking pretty good. Cloud does get Tap out of the sky, so you don't have that Pharah.
Oh, Cloud?
Oh, Snappy gets res. Oh, he was so close to going down. Able to stay alive at least for the moment. And Alex with 2. with those hyperspheres. That's so good.
Yeah, that was an amazing halt there from the side of Shade, halting both of them into the hyperspheres, and I think it's just going to be an easy cleanup right now for the side of Indignation. Some picks coming in back and forth, though. It is a bit scrappy.
Yeah, you did have Cray be able to get back into the fight. Coalescence keeping up a player. They're finally starting to capture on the point. The Pharmacy comp is starting to come back in.
Oh,
the
window.
Combo. Oh, the window. Almost taking out that Mercy, but able to get out of the way, at least for the moment. They have to make sure that they get back onto this point eventually, and it's causing Snappy and Alexar to go down. So Indignation, they're going to be able to get this point opened up. It did take a lot of time. They're going to be pushing this cart in overtime.
So I talked a little bit earlier about the Winston and on the offense and how it was working. I'm not the biggest fan of it there on the defense because it kind of, the same thing happened on that first push that happened on this push as well, where the Winston kind of just stays there and tries to get some cleave as they come through the hallway on the high ground, but it just doesn't do anything, and everyone gets melted by Eden because he's being damage boosted, he's being pocketed. The Winston damage just isn't gonna be enough.
Getting set back up on the point too. Now this is where you have to see what is Nyyrikki's answer going to be for this Bastion that we saw push through this first point so well. Tank mode is going to get used here. Eden jumping up into the air. He misses with 2 of his shots. He's missed a few. Hasn't gotten much value out of this tank mode, and Cloud has been able to take advantage of it by getting Tap out of the sky.
Cloud
Barraging in with the Flux. It pulls 2 cracks up into the air. They pull everybody off the cards. The Flux was enough to get them all off. There's a win condition on this first point for the side of Nyyrikki. They got everyone off, even with players alive, and the Bastion, I think, was still alive too.
Yeah, I think the Bastion actually got barraged, but I mean, Cloud there at the end, the Cloud on Nyyrikki rather, did such a good job on that Pharah. He forced out the resurrection, so that way there was no pocket for the Bastion with that Mercy, and then barrages the Bastion. The Flux comes in, takes everyone off the point, and there at overtime, if you step on it even just a little bit, it's going to wind down because Flux lasts so long when you're caught in the air like that. So there is a win condition like you mentioned, but again, I would expect probably the side of Indignation to run the Bastion. They might not, though. It's going to be Eden on the McCree, so this is definitely a counter pick to try and deal with Cloud in the air on that Pharah.
And when you think about the fact that you have 2 shields that you're using on the side of Indignation to keep that McCree alive, it's a little bit easier to do so. You don't have to put as much attention into your McCree because there's 2 shields in front of him.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we've seen Eden, you know, with his Bastion tracking has been pretty phenomenal so far.
Yeah.
And if he's going to be hitting those shots like he is this time on McCree, you know, Cloud has to be very careful about getting like 2-tapped or 3-tapped in the air because he could very easily go down, especially because I would assume Cloud is going to be pocketing him and damage boosting him at the same time.
Without a doubt, the McCree-Pharah matchup is going to be a point of contention here on this first point for both Nyyrikki and Indignation. Indignation already with a map win, trying to keep it. Oh! He just turned around the corner and he was dead for Kriya. Now they've got to wait. This is such a good start for the side of Indignation.
Yeah, they're going to have to be so careful right now. Eden is just hitting his shots and he's being damage boosted. You saw there 3 taps Kree and gets him down. So they're going to have to be super careful here on the side of Nyyrikki as they're going to try and get this dive going.
So Alexar just kind of throwing out some of those Hyper Seers, just trying to get out some damage while they have finally regrouped, and now their attack has to come in. It's got to be a 2-pronged attack. You're seeing a couple players going. Actually, it's going to be a 3-pronged attack. Fair from one way, the Sigma from underneath, and then you have the Doomfist coming from the stairs. Jumping in first is the Winston to pull some of that pressure away from the Fair, who now can get into position. They get 2 players down right at the beginning. Shade, though, able to find 2 as well for Indignation, but Nyyrikki is still looking so good, especially with that res coming back through. Doesn't matter if you have that McCree or not, if everybody's dead, and they can't attack just 1 player, and now they have the point.
They're going to be capping this point, and they're going to be having a pretty decent time bank. A couple of fights are going to be available to them, 1 or 2 left for the side of Nyyrikki to get it about halfway towards that point B. And they're going to have to actually have a lot of pressure in the air and aerial superiority as Cloud is going to go down to Cloud. That's going to be a tongue twister right there, but that Mercy is definitely going to be needed for this next fight.
It's a lot of free space that you give up because of the fact that you lost your Mercy. So taking advantage of this will be Nyyrikki. They are going to put this in 1-point territory. Eden dies right at the beginning too. Alex now trying to help with the help of the Coalescence is the only thing. The Rocket Punch missing from Tap. He is about to get the Meteor Strike, but they've given up so much room. The cart is still moving too. There's nobody contesting the cart as of yet for the
so
side.
far away.
They've got to get onto that cart. The Orisa just pushing forward, just trying to keep herself alive. Barrage coming through from Cloud will get shade, and now you've lost one of those barriers. Tap coming back through with the Meteor Strike. Rocket punches into one. Overtime has started.
The flux.
Is it going to be enough, though? It only gets one in Bacon Thief. There's too many players left alive, and the point is one. Nyyrikki wins the map and evens it's up 1-1.
Oh, that was so close. I expected there for a second that, Nyyrikki was going to get done what happened to them where they just get graphitic fluxed off the point, but they're not enough there for the side of Indignation to win that point, and Nyyrikki going to be evening out this matchup. And this is, Labasco, this has been a close match throughout. I mean, both of these teams fighting tooth and nail with each other. I think we could definitely see a full 5-game set here.
Especially, too, when you think about map choices are going to be so important for both of these teams, Kenobi, because if we know it's a map where fair is possible, we know that we give an edge to Nyyrikki in those sort of maps. But if it's Reaper Doomfist that is the predominant part of what has to be played, you're giving Indignation the edge from what we've seen at least up until this point. So when you look at it in this way, it is sort of a chess match that we get between both of these teams.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to be wondering about Indignation as well. They look so good on the Bastion composition, right? I mean, we saw Eden there. I was actually kind of surprised that he brought out the McCree. I would have liked to have seen him probably just run the Bastion, even if you aren't going to, you aren't going to be winning the fight at the start. You definitely could have probably stopped them enough to get into overtime or something like that, because that's kind of what they did on that first point. They took a lot of time away from the side of Nyyrikki, so... But definitely, I mean, he did hit his shots. We talked about that, but unfortunately, just McCree is in a point in the meta where it's just very difficult, especially when Nyyrikki is using this variation where they have the Winston, which means that the McCree is just gonna get dove on. So I mean, a lot of these teams, I like the creativity that's coming out. We see, some McCree, we're seeing some Winston, which I don't think I would ever see. I never thought I'd ever see in this current meta, because Winston is not the greatest at the moment, as I think the teams are going to be switching sides again. Just a note for the viewers and a note for us as well.
Which is fine with me. I'm okay with that. Regardless, though, I want to go back to something that I thought was one of the most key moments for Nyyrikki, was when they saw the composition, when they lose at the beginning their Doomfist, when they're going on their second attack, the 3-pronged attack that they ended up doing. They had, I think it was both of their tanks went underneath where they were set up for Indignation. You had your Doomfist come from the stairs right there where the comp is positioned, and then you had the fair from the other side. That's excellent coordination that you have to do in order to do something like that. So I think Nyyrikki needs to get a lot of credit for being able to put something like that together to win that point, because if they don't, obviously it's 2-0 Indignation right now.
Yeah, and I like how they were focusing on Eden. I like how they understood that Eden is kind of the carry right now. I mean, basically they walked up and the Doom got 3-tapped, and then they're like, okay, well, we need someone to deal with this guy, because he is probably going to carry them if he's just left alone at his own devices. So they dive onto the McCree. They put a lot of pressure onto him. McCree is very squishy right now. He can't get the help because the help is being, like you mentioned, the 3-pronged attack. The help is being pressured themselves. So there's a lot of resource management that you don't have going into that McCree. So I like that you mentioned the 3-pronged attack. I think it was very good from it.
It's one of those things where if you are going to beat it, it's all about communication. Like, it's a lot of communication to try and beat something like that. And a map that people love, some hate.
I love this map, Labasco.
It's a pretty map. It's
my favorite map in Overwatch. I couldn't even say it with a straight face.
I was going to say, Kenobi and I have a very bad history with this map whenever we play together in any sort of comp form. Regardless, it's Temple of Anubis is the map that we're at, Kenobi. It's a very pretty map. We can say that.
It is a very pretty map. They did a really nice job on just like how it looks. I definitely feel like I'm there. I like that there's a Murloc on this giant truck thing. That's probably my favorite part.
WoW Classic really big for both Kenobi and I right now too.
Not
Kenobi's
big for me, big for you, but
you have class. Kenobi's a college student, so he's
all of my time is
his best.
My time is vampired away. The AFK monster got me.
Yes, that's okay though. So when we look at it here, you can kind of use Pharah at least for part of it. I mean, you can use it for the entire map, but it's not maybe the best choice. But we're seeing here that Nyyrikki's going with it on the defensive side.
Yeah, this is definitely for Nyyrikki, makes a lot of sense for them. They seem to be very comfortable. Cloud especially seems to be a very good Pharah in its own right. So this definitely makes sense with how they're going to be running. I wonder if Indignation is going to be running that Widowmaker, try and put some pressure onto the Pharah because you do have that ability to just one-shot her, but there is that, Sigma Shield available to you that can help out the Pharah just a little bit.
Well, we're about to see the doors open. They do have the Mei. They're going Mei Reaper. So the Mei can be sneaky and do a little bit of damage to the Pharah if you're really good on the Mei. So we'll see them first position themselves on the left side. You now have the Pharah starting to come in here. They can block a little bit of that damage. And now they're in a room. This is actually not bad, though, for the Pharah, because now they're in a tiny room that you can just throw rockets in and pray that you get somebody at him. Making sure to keep himself alive. Has to already use his Wraith form, so that's something that maybe can be taken advantage of by Nyyrikki. Tab looking for those opportunities to freeze somebody and try and get close. Nothing as of yet, though. They're positioning themselves closer and closer to the point. Coalescence already out. A nice use to get Vacant Thief up in the air, but Nyyrikki has Kriya going in the back line. Oh, he's getting close to being frozen, and he's dead. Alex throwing in those spheres will take him down. Early advantage going over to Indignation on the attack. Alex getting Vacant Thief. Barrage from Cloud. Accretion out. Doesn't matter. This point is going over to Indignation.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about how these two comps work against each other is you saw how much damage was being done by the Pharah onto the side of Indignation, but that just means that Sucrax is going to get his Coalescence beforehand, and the Coalescence does so much work damaging the enemy team while keeping his teammates alive, and they're able to snowball off of that. A really nice accretion, though, as well from Alex to negate the barrage damage.
Probably wasn't going to matter about the barrage, but still, now they can push a lot quicker because they don't have to wait for any respawners for this attack from Indignation, using the ice wall there to try and block off some of those players that were on the other side. Dramatic Punch is huge, but the sound barrier is even better for the side of Indignation. Coalescence coming out in response as well. Blizzard thrown down on the point, does freeze Kriya, and now everybody starts to fall as the ultimates get used for Indignation. Goodbye, Alexor, and there they are, already 2 points. The Mei will stall for as long as possible, but it's a stall that won't last very long.
Indignation looks so good, and a 5-minute time bank on Anubis is actually kind of insane, especially when you think about how, if you're the defensive side there, you're probably getting some ultimates, but there, the Coalescence from Nyyrikki gets absolutely no value. It was trying to keep Kraya alive, but unfortunately, he gets sniped out by Sucrax, and Sucrax there had 2 Coalescences in the time that it took Barotz to get 1. So Coalescence, man, for the side of Indignation, getting a lot more value, as we're going to be seeing this Murloc again. Thank you, producers.
Yeah, I don't like Murlocs personally. Like as far as World of Warcraft is concerned.
Well, I mean, they're not good in Hearthstone either. They're so annoying. Like just Murlocs and Murloc decks, Paladin Murloc. You Hearthstone players know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Regardless, though, we're about to see what's going to come out here for both sides, Kenobi, and I mean, this is a big time bank to answer for Nyyrikki. They're going to show us the Pharah here early on. I don't think that's going to be anything that they switch. They're showing us a Brigitte, but we're not going to speculate on that. It's not going to.
No, that is just bait for us.
It's okay, and I took the bait. Regardless, let's look at the defense, though. Indignation. No surprise, really, that they're just going with what we've seen for the most part. Reaper Doomfist. No Mei this time, but defensively, I mean, the Reaper can be pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting that they didn't pick the Mei, because the Mei on that last map did do a pretty good job. I think it was Tap or Aiden, I'm not sure, but they did a good job of dealing with the Pharah. But it looks like Nyyrikki not even going to be bringing out the Pharah on the offense here. They're just going to be playing standard as well. So mirror composition for both of these teams.
That's how we'll go here at the beginning, looking for the opportunity now to position themselves, though, is Nyyrikki. Tap is thinking about going in, decides against it, though, rocketing himself away. They get through with nobody lost for the first part here for Nyyrikki. Now they're starting to go on towards that high ground where Indignation is. Tap looking for that opportunity to rocket punch in. The halt's coming out. Doesn't get anybody, though. There was no follow-up off of the halt that came through from Nyyrikki. So this is kind of a stalemate standstill. Tap getting Kreo came from behind. They were trying to set up a flank. It did not work out.
Yeah, Cray got absolutely red there with that teleport, and Tap was ready with his Doomfist punch, and now this Coalescence has been committed to this as well, so the side of Nyyrikki, they're trying to just go for this. They're trying to continue this fight.
They will get Cray back into the fight eventually is the one thing. They do have that short respawn or short distance from where you respawn, so maybe that was their thought, but Coalescence hasn't done much. Nobody's been taken down, and now Bacon Thief, the focus of this Coalescence from Sucrux, not going to get him down, but we'll find Cray again. Cray has just been living in the respawn room right now, hasn't been able to have an impact in this fight, and now Indignation knows they can push forward and take out the stragglers that are left alive from Nyyrikki.
Yeah, Nyyrikki is doing such a good job of reading these flanks from Cray. Cray only has 37% towards his ultimate, and you look at Eden, he has 76%, almost a 40% difference, so that just proves how much value that Eden is getting, where Cray just not getting the value on these flanks that he wants. They're getting read so hard by Nyyrikki.
There are some ultimates, though, for the side of Nyyrikki. Is the one good thing. Yeah, they don't have the Depth Blossom close, but they do have Meteor Strike. They do have Coalescence again for Snappy. So Bratz is about to get his ult as well. So they have some defensive ultimates to work with, but Superchargers on the other side that can be used here. Players getting low, and they will get the Supercharger out. Cloud coming through with the Meteor Strike, looking for an opportunity. They lost their Lucio before the Sound Barrier could come out. And now, this looks like a fight. Oh, but they do manage to get two with the help of that Coalescence. Punching his way in is Cloud. Cloud trying to be the hero for his team. Two players left alive to take care of. Gravatic from Alex. Alex able to not get anybody at the Sound Barrier in time, so dying helps out Bratz. And now, finally, Nyyrikki will get this point.
It's such a scrappy fight, but Cloud is the hero at the end, saving his team, and they're going to be able to take this point. I don't think there can be a recontention. Cray goes down, though. There's still a tick left. No, they're probably not going to be able to get there. They're just going to take this last one, but Cray still having a really rough time on this Reaper, only at 86% towards his ultimate, and we've been playing for quite a bit of time. Yeah, and it's his first.
No, and Eden has already used his and is almost to 30%. So yeah. This is definitely one thing that they'll have to try and figure out. It seems more like how they've been using him, by the way. Yeah. So we'll have to see if they end up changing that as these maps continue on. But right now, defensively, you're okay with however this goes for Indignation. You've got the bigger time bank. You do have at least the Sound Barrier to deal with some of this. The Death Blossom is about to be up, though, for Nyyrikki. So we'll see how they end up using the ultimates they have. Snappy has been building these Coalescence so fast. That's one thing that's been impressive, and throws it out here at the beginning of the fight, keeping everybody alive and throwing that damage out as well. Kreia looking for the opportunity to Death Blossom in, and there he goes! But nobody ends up, they get the damage off of it. That ends up falling a tap. One of the few players left alive. He's down. And now they just sit and wait.
I don't even know if they're going to be able to get back to the point. I mean, the ball is going to be here, so they are going to be able to continue stalling, but they get booped off the point. There comes the Reaper back onto the point, but he's going to go down very quickly.
And now they have those players coming back out. Coalescence here in desperation for the side of Indignation. Meteor strikes out from both sides. Cloud not getting much with his. They've actually been forced off the point here a little bit, and now they've lost Bratz. But now the dramatic flux catches everybody, but players still left alive. They were still at pretty high health.
Cray's dead.
And they're losing so many players. They have two ticks at the very least is the thing, but it looks like this third tick is going to come through.
They're not going to get that point. That's an absolute disaster there for the side of Nyyrikki. They basically had that dead to rights. They had the team kill, but a really nice stall from the side of Indignation. A lot of ultimates also used for the side of Nyyrikki, and they didn't get the 3 ticks that they needed.
Death Blossom is what won them that fight, and the damage follow-up after it. And they do have that, though, on the side for Indignation. So they have that. On the other side, Bacon Thief is one of the closest to Bratz. The Sound Barriers, very close.
They didn't see him. They didn't see him.
Oh, Tap comes in and gets this Lucio down in Bratz, so they've already lost one. This is another lost fight for the side of Nyyrikki.
That was a cheeky flank there. I'm shocked that no one saw him. That was actually insane. There was even a Moira who just kind of walked by him and didn't see Eden, and they were forced to use a lot of cooldowns to negate that Death Blossom from Eden. But then, Tap comes in with that Doomfist and is able to get a lot of damage done as well. So this is looking a bit scary here for the side of Nyyrikki. They have 1 minute 30 seconds left. This is about 2 fights, especially if they lose this first one.
2 ultimates up for Indignation, the Coalescence and the Sound Barrier. The Sound Barrier and the Coalescence will be up here. Meteor Strike up. They're even pretty much for the ultimates they have. Tap has to use his Meteor Strike defensively, it looks like, to make sure he keeps himself alive. So that's not a good use of the Coalescence out on either end. Nyyrikki starting to push forward. Bratz is down again. He used his sound. Did he even get his sound barrier off? I'm not even sure. I didn't see it get used. Tap coming through. Cloud just coming in desperation.
Cloud
comes back around, finds himself below Lucio.
Oh, he's sound barriering!
There's still one more left. They're able to do it. Just Tap left alive. He can't keep himself up. They get the cap before anybody gets on.
Oh my god, Cloud is able to snipe out Barot as he is using that sound barrier. That was absolutely insane. Cancels it out and gets his team the cap. That was nuts.
Absolutely insane. You have to give so much credit to Cloud. He has been one of the main carries on this team for Nyyrikki. He's been one of the players that has made everything work for this team. We've seen it on the Pharah, and now we're seeing it on the Doomfist Kenobi.
Yeah, and they're able to take the point. They only have a minute. It's still a huge time bank that they have to go up against. 5 minutes and 14 seconds for Indignation. But man, Nyyrikki fought tooth and nail to cap that point, and Cloud comes up super clutch, punching basically his counterpart Cloud on that Lucio during the animation of the sound barrier. Because if that sound barrier goes off, Indignation probably is able to sustain through that point and win, and maybe just win the series, win the game outright there. But Cloud comes in clutch, is able to help his team cap that point, and now they're gonna have to defend or attack with a minute left.
The moral of the story is, if there's still a Doomfist left alive, you haven't lost the fight, apparently.
If there's a Doomfist, there's a way.
Yes, exactly. So we're seeing what we saw just before this with these teams on the same sides of the fence here for Indignation. They haven't changed anything up. Offensively, nothing has changed for Nyyrikki. Everybody's on the same heroes that we just saw mirror matchup in this composition with the Doomfist Reaper.
And we're going to see both of these teams just posturing a bit. Definitely a rotation through left side going to come out. Tap feigning there a little bit with that punch, but not going to go in, thank goodness, because that would probably would have been a very dead Doomfist.
Same thing with Cole. Cloud almost did die. Whew, Cloud was so close before those barriers came up, but he does get healed back up. It's the one thing about pushing through on this left side. You do take a lot of damage if you don't have your barriers in position. They have started to force back, though, Indignation. They have to be able to create some space to allow their players to get through. The Coalescence is already up 2 for Snappy. Sucrux is only at 70%. Coalescence popped here. Have the Reaper teleporting in behind as well. Have to be careful not to let anybody die. They're forcing the team back. Coalescence now answered on the other end. Oh, Cray is so close. They haven't lost anybody yet. Have to take a step onto the point. Have to be careful that nobody dies. They finally get on here. Cloud looking for his opportunity to get in here. Chooses that first the seismic slam to get in, and then rocket punches through. Sound barrier keeping everybody alive. Thanks to Barat, they're going to get this first point. They are in overtime. They're going to have to push right through it.
Oh, Alex is doing his best. Cray's able to get the kill on the Eden. That's a good trade.
Still keeping themselves in this, at least for the moment, but Cray, like you said, and now you have the Gravatic Flux trying to keep that dope for the next point, because they should win this. They have more players left alive, more resources available, and now they have Death Blossom, Gravatic Flux they can combine on the second point.
And this is absolutely the best case scenario here for Nyyrikki. With 1 minute left, you take first point. Anything after this is just gravy, baby. After that, it's just everything on it's the icing on the cake that you're taking to the house.
So Gravatic Flux and the use of the Death Blossom going to be the combo that we're going to look for. Gravatic Flux, Meteor Strike, though, on the other side. They're pushing forward. They don't even want to let them get there. Gravatic Flux used by both teams. It's better from Alex. He gets one, and then the Boot gets another. They're going to clean this up, no problem. 8 seconds left. Only a Moira left on the point. Will at least proc the overtime. It looks like maybe it didn't even get, does get the overtime at the very least, but can anybody get back is the only thing. Here comes the Wrecking Ball. They're going to have so much to try and deal with. This can't even get to the point. They do manage to at least cap one, and then on the other point, you have 33% to play with.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the best thing about this for the side of Nyyrikki is that they were able to cap that first point. There's a win condition set. You just have to hold this first point. I mean, even if you do lose the first point, you still have the ability to take a draw. So for the side of Nyyrikki with 1 minute left, you definitely are taking this to the bank.
5:14, there's so much
It's a lot of time. It's like, more time than they started with. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, I think you start with, what, 4 minutes, I believe?
4 minutes, so about a minute extra that they're going to have. And the way that Indignation looked on their first attack, I would definitely be a little bit scared if I was the side of Nyyrikki.
Well, they're going with the Bastion and the Mei here defensively. you got to try something different because obviously defensively you did not work. It did not work out very well for them.
Yes, so they're going to be bringing out. I think this is the first time we've actually seen.
Yeah.
We've seen Nyyrikki bring out this Bastion composition, so I'm interested to see how it's going to be played. They're going to be bringing the Mei with it. I think that the side of Indignation is going to be bringing out this Mei as well. I think they might read that there is going to be a Bastion on the other side, and Mei is one of the best things at dealing with Bastion because you have that wall, and you can wall the Bastion up and, get him away from all of that healing, maybe put him in a position he doesn't really want to.
Essentially a third barrier too sometimes that wall can be. So you can boost the Bastion up to just take him out. There's so many different ways that you can use that Mei wall. Mei is such a creative hero, that's for sure. Freya, though, nothing creative about playing Bastion. Hold left click and spam at the targets that you see. And they kind of have to back out here for a second. Now they start to come back. They lose the barrier of the Sigma, but they got through. Now we're going to see the song and dance of these rotations.
And I'm interested to see how the side of Indignation is going to play around this. They're playing it a little bit slow. They're going to actually try and rotate back out to the middle, but they're going to get met with a halt, and that's a lot of damage coming out from this Bastion.
No ice wall available or the ice block for the Mei. They can try and focus on that single target if they can find the Mei. But now you're starting to see players sort of spread out and come back together for the side of Indignation. They're going onto that high ground right by the point. So now it's going to be the low ground versus the high ground battle, and generally you take the high ground if you can have it.
I mean, you know me, Labasco. My name is Kenobi. I love me some high ground.
Oh, but they're dropping down in the... Oh, the Orisa almost died just trying to get down to the point. But now you're going to have somebody try to... Oh, he's dead. He was the one player that you had, couldn't get onto that point. So now you're in a really bad spot. If you're the side of Nyyrikki, you have to get the Bastion to get some eliminations, and nothing so far. The Reaper teleporting right in front, uses all of his cooldowns to try and deal with the by Kriya, and now they can start to cap this and push on to that final point. They're going to have about 4 minutes to do so.
Yeah, that was so good there from Eating, teleporting onto the Bastion, forcing the Coalescence to try and save him, but it just isn't enough, and now Indignation is just going to clean up this point. There's really nothing they can do, but Tap is dead.
Cloud came back on the... He came back on the Doomfist, and it started to make a bit of a difference here for this team, at least for the second. Oh, he gets another kill! Cloud trying, but that's a good ultimate that he gets out, though.
Yeah, and then the Bastion's going to come back, do some damage with that tank ultimate, but not going to get anything done. Going to be switching over to that Reaper. Yep, so 3 minutes and 30 seconds to hold just one tick for the side of Nyyrikki, and that's even just for a draw. So this is going to be a very tall hill for them to climb.
It's 30 seconds off the clock that, you might have thought you were going to have if you were Indignation, because it looked like they were going to get that with no problem. So give Cloud a lot of credit. Cloud still has potential to carry on this Doomfist. They're playing for a draw, though, on this map is the important thing to point out. So still have to try and keep this in. Coalescence coming out first. Elixir so close to falling here and manages to get healed back up. Meteor Strike coming through. Accretion is able to get down Shade. This is looking like it's pretty good for the defending team in
Blizzard.
Blizzard not doing a whole lot either. So now you have ultimates out. Nyyrikki, you can have Craig just go on the point, shoot those Hellfire shotguns, and now you have control of this game. They do have the Gravitic Flux on either side. Sound Barrier, though, is the one key here for the Indignation.
Yeah, and Nyyrikki's going to need a lot more fights like that one where they're getting out ultimates but winning fights as well. Unfortunately, though, the biggest ultimate coming into this fight is going to be the Sound Barrier, because there is, on the other side, Alexor has this Sigma ultimate, so they are going to be able to sustain through it. But unfortunately, Alex on the side of Indignation has this Gravitic Flux, but for the side of Nyyrikki, they don't have the Sound Barrier to deal with it.
So it all depends on how you use these ultimates, of course. Snappy getting really close to Coalescence is a good thing to be able to have up as well. But like you said, Sound Barrier is what you really need if you're Nyyrikki right now. They finally push onto the point for Indignation. The Gravitic Flux getting used here early on. Sound Barrier used in response. Nobody has fallen as of yet. Eden's just trying to come around in that corner. So far, you've gotten out all the ultimates you wanted to. If you're the side of Nyyrikki, this is actually looking really good.
Cloud's
they can stay alive, but Cloud is down. Most important player, but Kreia has Death Blossom coming in with his. He didn't get anything for it, though, is the only problem. They're still staying alive. They're still stalling out. You have enough time. Sound Barrier coming in. Cloud can be back into this fight as well. Kreia building up. Sound Barrier not going to keep
the Death
Blossom. Meteor Strike coming through. Cloud with one, but he's the only one left, as there's only another player left alive. I think it's the Lucio in the sky. Can't really see. There's this dead body, though, as it is going to be the win for this side of Indignation.
Indignation coming out with that amazing first attack where they got 5 minutes and 14 seconds, and they finish with that last tick with about 1 minute and 14 seconds left. And Eden's going to get our play of the game, and he definitely deserves it. Eden played a masterful Reaper this entire series so far, and it was really a difference of how the Reapers were in the end, because Cray, as we saw a lot through this series, had some difficulties with how he was playing his Reaper, flanking around. It was getting read a lot by the enemy team. So Eden there playing a phenomenal Reaper just by being able to use those flanks more effectively than Cray was, and also shutting down Cray at the same time.
The one thing that I see, though, it feels like Nyyrikki is getting a little bit closer. I mean, when you talk about a 5-minute time bank, you
Yep.
usually expect a team to steamroll their way through. Nyyrikki has slowly been adapting to the style that they're seeing from Indignation, is what it feels like. But for Indignation, I mean, you have some players that have been playing so strong. Eden is one of those players. That Depth Blossom felt like the key to them winning that. That ends up being the play of the game, too. Sometimes play of the game is play of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was the thing that won you the map and won you that round, so it is going to be the play of the game. But I think with both of these teams, I think for Nyyrikki specifically, the thing I want to see a little bit more of is I want to see them clean up a little bit on those, errors with Cray specifically. Cray hasn't been getting a lot of value, so maybe switch up where you're going to be going on these flanks. And sometimes you don't really need to go on flanks as Reaper. You can kind of just stay behind the shield and do some shield break. And then once, some cooldowns are gone, like the Doomfist Punch, for instance, like the Accretion, then you can start to go in.
We're going to switch sides again, and we're also going to Dorado as our map. I mean, not a surprise to see that we're switching again. And as far as for the type of map that we have, and when you think of Farah, I mean,
This is a pretty
Dorado's,
decent fair map. Yeah.
I mean, of the choices for escorts, there's really not many maps where Farah is viable at all 3 points, and this is maybe where she's best.
Yeah, you can definitely play Pharaoh on the first 2 points. Third point, you'd be risking a lot playing Pharaoh. It can be done. I've definitely seen it in my plat games, but I
Plat
wouldn't
games,
recommend it. I wouldn't recommend playing Pharaoh on third unless you are just that good of a Pharaoh. So the first 2 points, definitely, I could see Nyyrikki pulling out the Pharaoh like they've been doing so far.
They will be attacking first for the side of Nyyrikki. For the side of Indignation, they are going to be our defensive team first. And expectations here, I mean, they could maybe play Bastion
Hmm.
on this, that not a bad place to set up on that first point for Dorado. Another pretty map, by the way.
Very pretty map, especially the ocean. Like when you look to the sea and like you see all those tiny boats, it's really nice. This is Overwatch has
Very
some
detailed.
really cool aesthetic maps. But I think when we see these team compositions, I think you're right. We probably see Indignation come out with the Bastion. Looks like that is what they're going to be doing. And it also, if they think that Nyyrikki is going to be playing that Pharah, Bastion definitely a good deterrent to Pharah, as we saw in the previous match, like on Numbani.
Well, right now, they're not actually going to play the Farah for the side of Nyyrikki. At least that's what they're showing us.
Mhm.
Bratz is on the Mercy, so like we could still see it. I'm sure we'll see who decides to switch, whether it's Cloud or Bratz who ends up doing so. But defensively, like you said, we get to see the May Bastion again. We've seen this be pretty effective. Eden is darn good on Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't. Sometimes it looks like he doesn't even need to be in Sentry mode. He can just be in just regular Bastion walking mode, and he's still just hitting a bunch of dink shots. As looks like they are going to bring out the Pharah here. Krako's really low at the start, 73 health.
The one good thing for Cray is you can kind of sneak around and get to where that Bastion is. As you see, he's already positioning himself to get over there. But now he's got to wait for his cooldowns and decide how he wants to go and attack. And now this is where you have your potential to do something. You do have the immortality field up, though, is the only thing. But that is a good cooldown to get out this early in. And Tap falls first. Krays goes down as well. And Eden gets pulled off of the high ground is another good thing as well. You can deal so much more damage. Have to try and find, though, Cloud is what's happening for the moment. And Eden just desperately in recon mode trying to do so. Switches back into Sentry and then back into the recon. He's just trying to keep himself alive. Alex out of the fight, one barrier left. And Barrage, goodbye. This card's going to roll.
Yeah, and that was some really nice play there from Bacon Thief, pulling the Bastion off the high ground, because then, you mentioned it, Eden had to kind of scramble and figure out what he wanted to do, walking around in turret mode, or in recon mode, kind of aimlessly. Gonna be switching back over to the Doomfist now, so we're gonna be having a full mirror, except for the fact that Sucrax is on this map. He's probably just using it just for window, and then we'll probably switch over to something else.
When you said Bacon Thief, it sounded a little bit like bacon beef, and that sounds delicious.
That sounds
right
great.
now. Yeah, exactly. Regardless, though, you have the fight starting here. Sucrux keeping everybody alive with the amplification matrix, can be used defensively as a healing tool really well. You just saw it there, but they're still losing players. Snappy gets tap out of the sky as the Ana, so that's a switch up that we're seeing here as well, as that Ana coming through, and then Eden, though, coming into the backline, uppercutting his way through two, and then rocket punching down Bacon Thief, and they will stall before this first point.
And it looks like here for the side of Indignation, they are playing this Pharah composition and with the Doomfist pretty well, and almost matching the side of Nyyrikki. But they're going to be coming in here, Nyyrikki, with this supercharger ultimate, very important in these fights. Definitely going to be, very important in trying to break this composition from the side of Indignation.
So the Pharah battle, what we're going to be witnessing at least for the moment here between both of these players, and Cloud and Tap. Ooh, Cloud. It's a little bit unfortunate that he didn't get the boost off of the I almost said ceiling.
The shingles?
The shingles, yeah, sure. Shingles word. Roof. Apparently I couldn't think of what the word roof is. It's, that's always a good thing to be able to do. Regardless of that, Cloud still shooting out, getting very low, 88%. Ooh, nice direct rocket. Not enough to take out the player. Eden on the ground, though, loses the battle to Kreia. So Kreia on this Doomfist is looking pretty good for the moment. We've seen Cloud be the one more on it than anybody else, is the thing. Now shooting those rockets in. Barrage, you're dead. If you're tapped, he did help get Kreia, though, down. This is still such a tough thing. And now you have the nano boost coming through, and just looking for the chance.
The
they get the point! How did they get it? Got off?
That was a really, really good gravitic flux from Alex, or he got 3 people off the cart, and then they're able to take this point. Good heads-up play from the Sigma player on the side of Nyyrikki.
Yeah, that helped get them off. I think there was a halt in there as well from Bacon Thief that helped too. And now you're at a way better spot than you thought you were going to be for Nyyrikki, and ultimate-wise, though, it's still pretty even.
Yeah, that was looking very scary for Nyyrikki there, but they're able to finally take that point, and now rolling into point B, another snowball-y-esque point. You can run this to point C relatively quickly, as they have 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. Not the greatest time bank you'd want, but definitely not the worst.
Tap throwing out those rockets, at least from above for the moment, looking for a target to focus on. Sees an anti-targeting Kreia, and he's dead. Nothing he could do there. His team couldn't do anything because he was anti-nated. And now you just have everybody fall afterwards, and defensively he's snowball pretty well too with the ultimates that they have.
And that was a really nice heads-up play there from Shade. Once the Doomfist went in, he held halt for when the Doomfist was going to try and escape, pulls the Doomfist back in into the anti-nade, and they blow up Cray. And once Cray dies, the rest of the team just hits W and gets the rest of those kills. So really nice heads-up play from Shade.
Match point as well, something we haven't mentioned for Indignation. So. This. Missed. Cray was still getting close to losing.
Cray had no idea. He had no idea Eden was there.
He lives through it this time. Luck was on his side. Cloud just missing a couple of rockets onto Cray, and now just looking for his opportunity to get in there with that rocket barrage. Snappy trying to keep everybody alive on this. Ana uses the nano boost onto Cloud, who's looking for the opportunity to use the barrage. Right now, this is not getting any value. Instead, Eden is getting 2 with the meteor strike on the ground.
It's another halt from Shade that's able to win them this fight. Shade is popping off right now on the Orisa. Not something you hear too often. Another great halt, and they're probably going to be able to take this fight.
Cloud has played so well, too, for the side of Nyyrikki, but didn't get any value out of the nano boost that was given by Snappy. So you just wasted an ult there too. So now Sucrux has the advantage as far as the nano boost that can go on to Tap or whoever else they decide.
Yeah, and there's the meteor strike coming out. Snappy is able to get Cloud, and Cloud is able to get Tap, so that's the Pharmacy winning.
Oh, the sleep got onto Eden, and then the accretion came through as well. Nothing that can be done there, and they'll keep themselves moving for the side of Nyyrikki.
That was some really clutch play there from Snappy, as he's able to take out and put a lot of damage to the Pharmacy combo, and once that Pharmacy combo is done, the other Pharmacy combo is just able to run down the rest of the enemy team there. So really heads up play from Snappy there.
Awesome sleep dart. I mean, the fight was pretty much won regardless too, but now you can throw the supercharger right in the corner here. They didn't even see it. Barrage coming through, but everybody wasn't coming yet.
Cloud.
And then their barrage, Cloud died, but Tap died as well, so no fair is left. Gravitic Flux is huge, and now you have Electra turning around and taking down Eden. They get the point, a minute 39 now to attack the final one.
Snappy is playing absolutely out of his mind there. He was getting dove on by the Doomfist, but hits a clutch sleep. That means the Doomfist isn't able to get onto the cart. The rest of his team is Gravitic Flux, so they aren't able to get on the cart either. So really nice play coming out from Nyyrikki.
You have some swaps coming through here for the side of Indignation too. They're going to switch Cloud and Sucrux over to that Lucio and the Moira, and they also have a Mei now.
And it looks like the Nano is available. I would assume this is going to be going on to Cloud. Cloud still staying on this Pharah on third point. I talked about it earlier. Not the best Pharah point, but it can work.
There isn't a lot of room for you to go, but there also isn't much that can deal with the Pharah is maybe what they're thinking. Either way, Meteor Strike getting used here. Able to avoid it nicely is Cloud. Has that Doomfist chasing him, and Eden can't quite get to him. His team is winning that battle on the ground a little bit for the moment. Rocket punch by Kreia to get tapped out. So now you don't have that. Mei has the Meteor Strike available too that he can use. Throws it out, looking for somebody on the point in the Lucio. It's a lot of damage done. Alex is down. The players are slowly falling for the side of Indignation.
And 20 seconds left, Labasco. This is going to be last fight for Nyyrikki here. They need to push this all the way through to that third point.
Cloud has another barrage, hiding in that spot, just waiting for them to come out so he can use it. Have the Orisa come out, have the barriers down, throws it out. He gets one, looking for another. He gets two with it. Now has to just help get everybody out of the blizzard and make sure that they don't die in that ice block. They didn't get on the cart. They didn't get on the cart. They're able to capture this with 0.1 seconds left.
0.1 seconds. That's insanity. They almost got it in overtime, but just barely didn't. That might be one of the first 0.1s I've ever seen.
Not that it makes a difference in this time.
No, it doesn't. But still, like, that's pretty funny that it was literally 0.1 seconds that they were able to push that through. But Nyyrikki, I mean, credit to them keeping on that Pharah on point C. Does a ton of damage to the side of Indignation, and they're able to carry. And it's kind of been the Cloud show throughout a lot of this series so far. Cloud has been really the person on the side of Nyyrikki who has really been the one carrying them through these fights.
Eden has been somebody to watch on the other side for Indignation, who has been sort of that DPS counter to whatever we've seen from Cloud at times. But Kreia did much better there.
Much better, yes.
Yeah, we've also seen a lot less Reaper from Kreia too, I think is what has helped a little bit. And not that he's bad at Pharah, just how, or Reaper, I mean, just how they've used the Reaper, I think is more of what it is, because he plays Reaper just fine is what it looks like. They're going to go for the defense. They're going to keep with the Pharah, and they're going to keep with the Doomfist. This is what they used offensively to get them through.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned about Kreia and the difference between his Doomfist and his Reaper, he just looks a lot more comfortable on the Doomfist. His cooldown management is a lot better. He seems to be getting a lot more value out of Rocket Punch, and it just seems like it's a hero more built for his playstyle, and they're playing around it a lot better than when he was on Reaper, you know, like you mentioned, and just teleporting into the back line, trying to get some damage done.
Doors are about to open here in just a second for Indignation. We've seen them on attack, though. They are a very good offensive team, at least up until this point. Starting off with the Widowmaker there is Eden. Don't know if he's going, looks like he's going to make the switch over to the Reaper now.
You switch over, Sucrax is also going to be switching over to that Moira, so standard composition here, a little bit with the Farabatiation coming out from Indignation.
Oh, Eden was getting the Mei so low, but then out came the nade that antied it and then allowed for the healing to get. Oh, Bacon Thief solos! He does die! Eden gets him!
Bacon Thief goes down. That's just going to be clean up from them. The side of Nyyrikki can just hit, or Indignation can just hit W, but Alexer comes back with a kill onto Eden, and there's the res. Bacon Thief is back.
Oh, he did just get the res off. I thought that the boop was going to stop.
They're going to hold.
They're going to Cloud in the sky. They can't deal with him. And Kreia on the Doomfist, like you said, 2 rocket punches he got players in a row.
Cloud and Kreia coming in clutch and tap. I don't know if he's used Barrage already, but he's only at 23% so far. Cloud already at that 73% mark, so Barrage is definitely in favor right now for Cloud.
Other ultimates getting close, though, for either side, though, is the good thing for Indignation. They do have another couple of things that are going to be coming up that can help them get into this, like the Coalescence. Oh, Craig got caught out there. They spotted him in the sky, and he was close to falling. Tap, though, not able to finish him off. But now, you've at least created a little bit of space, but now the Nano Boost coming through. And Cloud wins it! He didn't even use the barrage, didn't have to. Eden gets anti-nated as he starts to come forward, able to avoid everything. Oh, he's caught on the rope!
He's gonna get eaten
do anything! Cloud
can't just deal with him!
It's insane!
He is just a monster of a man. Tap can't deal with him either. Cloud is just running roughshod over the entirety of Indignation right now. How are they gonna stop him? It doesn't seem like they have any way to deal with him so far.
Pulling him forward, though. That's one way that he can try and deal with him. He's coming around, though. Has those buildings that he can use to avoid a lot of the damage that comes through. Has to try and now go back to fighting Tap in the sky, though, as Tap has been putting a little bit of pressure. Still has that rocket barrage. Ooh, big anti-nade down on that low ground, too, allowing for the Coalescence not to do a whole lot of healing. That actually negates that really well. Gravatic Flux throws a couple of in the sky. Not that kills them, but the follow-up damage. So getting value out of ultimates coming through for Nyyrikki.
And you can see Indignation, they're just so scared. They don't know how to deal with Cloud. They're always looking up in the air, trying to figure out where he is. The Coalescence there gets absolutely no value because of a great anti-nade from Snappy. So, I mean, Nyyrikki looking so good. They're on the verge of full holding this, and they have the ultimates to do it.
They know the rocket barrage is there, and it has to come out. Gray made a mistake. Massive mistake there. They get the Doomfist out, but you still have ultimates on the side. Oh, but Eden will get Alexor down too. Alex trying to keep himself alive. Cloud with one. Rez coming back in for Alexor. Very good Rez to at least stall this out, but Tap back into the fight too. Has his barrage. Rice rocket into Bacon Thief, and now can just come through, throw out that barrage, but Cloud coming out with his barrage too. Gets one accretion though out of it.
He's
the nano boost. The nano boost kept him alive, and now he's looking for another target. Can't find him though because the meteor strike. Cloud finding Cloud in the Mercy so low. Gets a little bit of help from his team to take him down. Only 30 seconds left. Even though Cloud is probably going to die here, the amount of time they've taken off the clock is insane.
Yeah, they might. I'm not sure. They're going to get a recontest here. Bacon Thief is available to them to get the recontest, so here it comes.
Bacon Thief coming through, super low. They're going to just back out. They're going to have to back out here, but this could actually be something that's good for Indignation. They can try taking advantage of this. Oh, Gray's so close to dying. He rocket punches away. Oh, he's getting chased up by the Tracer and Tap. Tap is on Tracer now. One of the changes here that's come through.
And there, Cray's going to go in. He's going to be able to get back. A Coalescence available for this next fight from Sucrax.
Nothing on the side of Nyyrikki, at least for the moment. Cloud is getting close to another all. Bacon Thief getting close to the Supercharger. Oh, so close with the Coalescence to getting barrage, but he's able to hide around the building. Back into the sky. Can't really get him, though. He's a little bit out of range. And Sucrux, not much value, actually, out of that Coalescence. Oh, but he will just pull through with the Biotic Grasp, take him down, and Tap in the sky, finally doing enough to get them the win here and start pushing that card.
The Valkyrie comes out. They're still fighting this, Losco.
They're still pushing through, but this looks like a losing effort is the only thing. Valkyrie just throwing out damage in it. His barrage, it is a fight that they know that they've lost. Oh, the Mercy's alive. Cray's come back in and finds one.
Yeah, he's going to go down, unfortunately, in the cart. I mean, they've been stalling this cart. The cart hasn't moved past this one corner, so this is a really good stall here from Nyyrikki, and they're going to be coming out back with ultimates. That last fight, it was all Indignation using their ultimates there.
Yeah, all that stall did was create ultimates for the side of Nyyrikki. Indignation actually didn't get a whole lot out of it, and now they have this opportunity to hold still on this point. Oh, going to use the Gravatic Flux super early, and they get Alexor. Using this so early might be enough to help them
barrage?
get back. Barrage only gets Shade. Stunned out, though, is Alex dealing with the Doomfist Meteor strike into the air. They're putting their foot down. Here is Nyyrikki, but they haven't gotten enough value out of the ultimates just yet. Ultimates have been coming online for Indignation, and they're pushing their way through.
Cloud is still alive, though, and he has the pocket from the Mercy. There's the Gravitic Flux. It's going to be dodged by the Meteor Strike.
Meteor Strike coming out of it is super important. That's all he was really using it for, but players still coming back, like you said. Barat's being lost, though, is huge. And now Cloud, nothing that he can do in the air except just go away. Gonna die eventually. Oh, he's getting healed by his Ana, though, so he's still alive for at least a second. Tap with a nice rocket does that.
Eden gonna miss that punch, so he's in a little bit of a bad position right now. Tap has this barrage ready to him. He can probably just save it for this next point, as it looks like finally Indignation is gonna be taking this point. Kreia gonna be switching over to the McCree and trying to deal and put some pressure onto that fair. Actually, just gonna probably switch to McCree and then just probably switch back to something else, I would assume, since he got the bad spawn.
Yeah, he got super bad spawn. See what he decides to do here, Kreia. Showing
He's gonna stay on it.
Staying on it. Tap doing exactly the same thing we saw Cloud do on this Pharah, hiding in this area. The difference is where the card is, though. The card is just getting through the doors. So, and Smart, look at how Nyyrikki's going. They did not go the same way, so he couldn't do that. He hits a barrier first. He does get Alexor down, though, is the good thing with this barrage, but not nearly as much value. Kreia gets Tap out of the sky, but everyone else on his team is dead.
It's another phenomenal halt there from Shade, halting everyone into that barrage, and now for the side of Indignation, they're going to be pushing into this next fight. They have the Flux advantage by a pretty hefty margin. Barat's just switched to the Lucio, so no sound barrier at all. This is pretty winnable for Indignation.
Cloud has gone over to the Doomfist, though we know the pick potential that Doomfist will allow you in a fight. Nano boost getting used here. Stun was Alex. I don't think he got his Flux
He didn't
off.
get it off.
That's gone. But Tap and Shade get two. Kreia, though, two down as well. Tap's out of the sky.
Cloud?
Though. Cloud with one. He's so low, though. They got to keep him up. They can't do it. And now here with 25 seconds left, you're going to see the cap come through for Indignation.
This has been such a close match between both of these teams. Cloud is trying his absolute heart out through all of these fights to win them for his team. We see, the Doomfist coming in and popping off. We see the Pharah popping off, but on the other side, Eden and Tap have been matching them every single step of the way. And Kreia, I mean, they were about to full hold that first point, but Kreia makes a pretty big error there, getting killed while he had Meteor Strike. And once the pressure is gone and the ability to have that Doomfist is gone as well for the side of Nyyrikki, Indignation just pushes in and they take that first cap.
It was really incredible to see that happens for Indignation, and they were able to take advantage of it and really push their advantage, and they end up actually having the better time bank. So you give a lot of credit there, but Nyyrikki, you see the things that can work for them on this point. They are going to be attacking here first, and Kreia is showing us McCree here early on, but of course we still got to see what ends up happening when they come out the doors. But on the other side, Cloud hasn't made a decision yet.
Yeah, he's gonna be the Lucio, so he can just run back to. Oh, he was just okay. So he was waiting for Eden. They're gonna taxi both Eden and Cloud to the point with that speed boost. And I think Kreia here is just on the McCree just because he thinks that there might be a Pharah on the other side. Once he sees that there's no Pharah, he'll probably swap. But this is actually pretty interesting. They kind of used to do this in goats as well, Mei goats, where you would sit here with the Mei and you were able to contest the point from right here. So they're just gonna try and just take a bunch of time off the clock.
But this is like shooting fish in a barrel for a Pharah. That's the one thing. Like, Pharah is okay with you all sitting in a room because you can build off your ultimate so fast. Cloud already basically to 50%.
He's walled off.
Big anti-nade came through, and now Cloud finally coming through and getting the limbs. Eden is finally here.
The flank.
He's on to the Ana, but there's not too many players left alive on his team is the only problem. Oh, he just died so fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's not terrible, though, for Indignation there. You do take off 30 seconds of a 1-minute time bank. Tap going to be switching back over to the Pharah, going to try and duel with Cloud here. But the unfortunate thing is that you've given a lot of ultimate charge to Kreia here, who's on this Junkrat. And Junkrat Tire is an insta-kill ability. You can definitely win them this fight.
Cloud as well, also getting close to the barrage. There you said, like, the Tire ends up being ready now. Looks like he's just looking for his opportunity. He's going to throw it out here. Right away, it's going to come through the room. They spun it out, but Alex can't do anything. That's a big pick. That's one barrier out of the way that you don't have to deal with. You saw Snappy, too, dealing a little bit of damage in, not getting anything with the anti-nade, but that's okay. His team has such a big advantage. Kreia going in behind, up onto the high ground to try and deal damage down as well. Trying to force players to have to turn around, and now they are starting to have to do so. He's going to use the mine to get himself away. Oh, the Coalescent snipes him out of the air, though. This is the chance here for Indignation. Cloud
Shout it back
through, having the res come through. Big res gets one back in and Snappy, but Barats will trade their life because of it. Cloud has to go get a health pack, and now it's just Bacon Thief on the point. And now the Death Blossom comes through. It only gets one, though, is the only thing. And now your tanks fall. Nobody can get back. They don't push super far, but they push through the choke is the most important thing for Nyyrikki.
So yeah, and for Indignation here, they're gonna have a little bit of a better time bank as we mentioned. So they have 24 seconds extra. That's about one fight probably that we're gonna be having different. So it took two fights here for Nyyrikki to lose and not take and not push their cart all the way in overtime. And here we're probably gonna see Indignation get one or two, probably a fight more, a fight extra with that extra 24 seconds. But I really like that little May strategy that they were using. They milked off a lot of percent or a lot of time rather from the clock. I mean, Nyyrikki only started moving that payload after 24 seconds was remaining on their clock. So that's 35 seconds that they took off basically for free, and they were still able to win the second fight.
And even though they gave up a free Riptire, the ultimate ends up being inconsequential because it only finds one target in Alex. And you think normally a Sigma is a losing fight, but they were still able to keep it going for the side of Indignation. So it worked out perfectly for them. You're right. Defensively, here we're seeing a much different thought. They're going to go. Cray was thinking about the McCree. He goes to the Doomfist instead. Doomfist Farah is what we get to see here from Nyyrikki.
Yeah, and Eden here, I think he's probably just going to stay on the Widowmaker, going to try and take a pot shot at Cloud. Once he's in the air, I would assume that's what he's going to do, or he'll just switch to something else. But I think he's just going to be on the Widowmaker to try and maybe just one tap Cloud, force out that Resurrection really early.
Well, we're seeing them come out here looking for that shot onto the Farah, using those walls though.
Oh, yeah, Kreia!
Kreia down early in the fight, already advantage for Indignation.
Oh. Indignation here is just going to roll this point. They have to back up here, Nyyrikki. They can't let anyone else. Shade's going to, Snappy's going to go down as well. They have to just retreat here. They're going to get one last fight to try and hold.
We are under 60 seconds as well, so this might end up being last fight territory too by the time that you get Nyyrikki back. Oh, nice little direct rocket that gets on by tap onto Cloud, but of course the Mercy can heal it up, no problem. And now just trying to boost himself back into the air is Tap. You're seeing a little bit of focus go on to Cloud. Now the players start to come back in, though, for Nyyrikki. This is it. This is the fight that's going to determine it. Craig gets anti-nated, but he's able to be kept up and alive. Rocket punching his way through, though, is Eden. Eden is getting one tap, following it up with another elimination. Rocket punch into the Orisa, and this is looking perfect for Indignation to win this map and win this game.
Yeah, they're going to clean it up here. Indignation going to take the series in a 3-1 victory as they're just going to run to that golden box of victory, and that's going to be it. Indignation win.
A very hard-fought, though, map.
Very hard-fought.
They did look dominant at times, though, I think is one thing to point out. When they didn't have to deal with the Farah, like, that was one of the times that they did, and they slowly dealt with the Farah better.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm interested to see how, what they thought was how they were going to deal with the Farah. Did they just let Cloud do his thing, and then they were thinking, okay, we can just have our other, our DPS are going to win out eventually. Kreia had a couple of unforced errors, I would say, especially on that last fight. You saw him get one clipped by that Widow there. He was very low health already, probably didn't need to be in that area, and had a lot of times where he would just die first.
Yeah, but they get the win. That's the important thing. They continue on in this tournament is the most important thing. So just looking at the bracket here too, Kenobi, and just seeing where we're going. I mean, it's already just this being the first game we've done together was already pretty awesome.
It was a very close game. I said that it probably could have gone all 5 games. I definitely still think that it was very close between both these teams, but I think Indignation just etched it out a little bit with their DPS play.
Without a doubt. If you had to give a player of the game, who would you give it to?
Eden, probably. I would think I would give it to Eden.
Yeah,
Eden, I think Eden did pretty phenomenal on whatever he was playing, whether it was the Reaper, whether it was the Doomfist. I think he was really the star of the show for most of the series.
They're going to play Regem DG36 Plus. So that is who they will play here in the lower bracket in the next game as well. So just an update as far as the bracketing is concerned. And then back on top for the semifinals, it's in case you weren't sure, it's X Oblivion versus Ad Astra on the other side. So should be we got a couple of good games that are coming up for us here, Kenobi.
Yep. Yeah, I can't wait. And I mean, tomorrow we'll have the last couple of games to decide the winner of the bracket. But man, this is losers bracket, and we're already getting towards the teams that are very close together. I think a lot of these last couple of games in the bracket are going to be very close games, could go either way. So I'm very excited to see what we're going to be seeing for the rest of this Monkey Bubble invitation.
Yeah, I think we're going to see if we're going to get anybody in here. I know that's So we're just trying to figure out who we're going to be able to get in here if we can. So actually, I think what we'll do here is just take a quick timeout while we wait for that interview, and then when we come back, we'll do that interview for you. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right here on Monkey Bubble.
This tournament was sponsored by Insights, a platform for gamers to learn and teach at the comfort of their own PC. Get your account today.